A lot of people think that it's very difficult to purchase something in the UK. It's not with the right support.
Where should you be buying? Where is commutable to certain universities? What works at different price ranges that people have got?
I mean, we've actually spoken with families where their son or daughter has been like 12 years old. You know, they're nowhere near the age, but they're saying, well, I want to park my money now.
Took me about 6 months to actually find and lock into one. I wasn't in London to actually check it out.
You're trying to see properties before they've hit the market. You see it on Rightmove or something like that, it's already gone.
Hi, it's Tom from Source Investments. Today, I'm joined by my business partner, Ollie Smith, Managing Director of Source Investments. I'm also here with Abhishek, who works with us at Source Investments as a property consultant covering India. In today's video, we want to talk about why Indian parents are buying property for their son and daughter who are here studying or working in the UK. We're going to cover that whole process from leaving India to sorting out their accommodation for their student stays, looking at the rental market and why it's become so popular to purchase a property instead of renting for their son and daughter. Initially, Abhishek, what I'd really like to chat about is obviously you've had your own journey from moving from Mumbai more recently to studying in the UK for your master's in central London. So you've actually done that journey firsthand, you and your family, obviously, who have supported you. So it'd be really interesting for people watching who are about to start that journey with their son and daughter, and they're looking at properties to rent, properties to purchase. Obviously, you've rented in London now for the last couple of years. How was that whole journey for you from moving over originally to now?
It was definitely challenging because it's easier to get into a uni than securing admission at an accommodation, for example.
Yeah.
So, for example, you take a university like UCL, they have their own student quarters. It's not that easy to actually secure a room there. So you look at private accommodation, which is expensive. And at the end of the day, it's like you're paying an extra 500 to 600 pounds for less space than you would at a student quarter. So it doesn't really make sense. So for me, it was difficult because as a student, you need something that's known as the CAS, which is a confirmation of acceptance to studies. Once you get your CAS, only then are you allowed to look at accommodation. And for a lot of students, the CAS comes in late, so you can't secure accommodation. So definitely for me, it took me about 6 months to actually find and lock into one. And also the added fact that I wasn't in London to actually check it out. That was way more challenging because I had no idea about the space.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting, obviously, you know, Ollie, you know firsthand renting in London over the years. You lived in central London for a long time now. It's challenging enough as a UK resident here on the ground to find rental accommodation in the UK, let alone trying to navigate that from overseas in India.
Yep.
I remember because I went to university in the UK. I moved straight from university to London within a couple of weeks. I didn't see the accommodation before I moved in. And I'm obviously here based in the UK. And over the years of renting in London, it kind of goes through cycles. Sometimes it's a little bit easier. Sometimes it's incredibly difficult. And more often than not, it's incredibly difficult because I remember myself, and when you first move to London, generally, I mean, this wasn't as a student, this is like a young professional moving to London. You're generally moving in with friends because you can't afford the accommodation otherwise. So you need quite specific properties. And I remember me and my friends, we were going into letting agents daily asking what's come on the market. You're trying to see properties before they've hit the market. Because if you see it on Rightmove or something like that, it's already gone. You know, companies leave listings up and they sort of fill those inquiries, and it's pretty crazy. You know, you're there as a paying customer and all you want is some accommodation, and it's not easy. So I can only imagine, having had that experience whilst being based in the UK, for someone based in India, and you don't know most people probably don't know the different areas of London, what's convenient, transport links, all that sort of stuff. So how did you actually navigate that, and how did you end up choosing the accommodation that you went for?
So quite challenging again. For me, I thought that, okay, being close to uni is the best thing I can do. So I found something that was on my bus route, and something that I didn't really know is that living south of the river, you need to be close to stations because the connectivity isn't the same as north of the river, for example. I didn't know that. So for me to actually figure out an accommodation that was close to my uni, that was easy. But then after moving in, I realized that I didn't really like the area. It was quite shady as well. So to move out, you need to find a replacement, which is another issue. So not only are you moving it with not knowing what the space is like, if you actually do want to terminate your contract, you need to find someone to fill in.
Yeah.
And people won't do that because you're paying a premium for an accommodation.
Yeah, I think this brings it on to a really important point that we want to chat about today. And I think why we're seeing and speaking to so many families in India who are looking at sending their son or daughter to university, and now they're looking at purchasing property. And it's exactly that point you just said. You ended up in an area that wasn't that nice. And look, that's the reality of any major city. You know, wherever you go in the world, there's nice areas and there's less nice areas. That is just the reality of city living. And you've ended up in an area that, use the word shady, but you know, you don't feel overly comfortable in it, and you're kind of looking to move out of the area, which leads on to the point, which is there's a financial aspect of why parents are looking at purchasing property. They see renting as a dead cost, particularly in India. Culturally, people don't like the idea of renting. But what I almost think is the bigger point is really just the safety, of course, but security, not just of the property itself, but if they've got a son and daughter who's going to go to university where there's a 3-year course, which is all of them, or maybe even 4-year course, or you're doing a master's, whatever it is, they want to know that they have assured accommodation for their son and daughter every one of those years that they're studying, so that they don't get to the end of their academic year and go, right, where are we living now? You know, landlords put the rent up or whatever it is. They just want to know, well, we've got a good quality property in a good location, and my son or daughter is going to be there every year that they're studying. Plus, if they then get a job in London, which a lot of people do, like yourself, you've done your master's and now you're working with us at Source. So young professional in London, they then know that they've got accommodation for that as well. So I do think, based on our experience, that's actually a bigger point.
Yeah, I think, you know, a lot of the clients that we've helped purchase property here in the UK for those exact reasons, that a lot of them will look at 2-bedroom apartments, and they're looking for properties that are at the level that the parents will come over and use themselves. They want to see and have access to their kids and be able to travel, and they want to stay in, again, you know, nice developments with concierge amenities on their doorstep. They want to buy properties that are convenient for their son and daughter, but also at a level that they can actually come and enjoy themselves. And we've seen that with the clients that we've helped in India who have purchased. That's the way they're kind of looking at things. I think that's the other thing is, you know, a lot of when they start that buying journey as well, it's, again, they don't really know what developers, where should I buy, what should I do? And I think that's where obviously we come in at Source Investments in helping them navigate that London market. Obviously we spoke about the rental market, but also from a sales point of view, you know, where should you be buying? Where is commutable to certain universities? What works at different price ranges that people have got?
I think at every level, we've almost built our business model around it a little bit, particularly when we're going out and meeting overseas buyers who generally are, in this case, families, as we've spoken about. It really lends itself in terms of leaning into tier 1 developers. You know, we have a really good relationship with Barclay Group, and a lot of the investment that we do in London right now is with Barclay, and that's because they secure prime locations. You know, we've spoken before about one of the major developments we're working on, the Halo in Oval. And that's a prime example. You're going into an area that's its own one location. It's got the best connectivity that you can get in London. The amenities, exactly what you spoke about. I think also parents can get excited about that because they're going, okay, my son or daughter is secure. They've got really nice accommodation. And when I come over to London, I've got a nice place to stay.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's got a pool and it's got a gym, and there's even meeting rooms if they want to do a little bit of work whilst they're over. So yeah, I think developers like that are the exact kind of developers that we're leaning into because they build a product that lends itself to what those families are looking for.
I think also a lot of the clients that we've worked with, they are primarily buying for those reasons we've mentioned, for their son and daughter. It's securing accommodation for them, etc. They're also, most of those clients that we've spoken to are also thinking of this as a longer term investment that they'll hold. And it's an asset in the UK. It's a diversification of their wealth, perhaps outside of India. And it sort of dovetails quite nicely for, that personal use from their family and their son and daughter, but then also ending up as a longer term rental investment that we can help them rent out and gain some exposure to the UK real estate market. The other thing that we're noticing on our trips to India and meeting with parents is how forward thinking a lot of these families are. We're meeting some parents who, their kids might not be studying in the UK for 4 or 5 years, and it might not even be a dead cert they're going to study in the UK, but they're already laying down that investment early. A lot of the projects we work on are some of the best projects. You have to really be getting in 2 or 3 years off plan, and they're quite happy to place their deposits and get positioned early in these schemes. One, to get hold of the best real estate investments here in the UK, but also because they are just forward planning, their kids' education that is to come in years to come in the UK.
Which actually also works very well from an LRS point of view. We chat about LRS all the time in terms of Indian families getting money out of India. And the off-plan process typically works very well because, it's $250,000 per family member.
Yep.
So a lot of these off-plan schemes, and as you say, the best ones, you need to be getting in 2-3 years prior to completion. We've actually spoken with families where their son or daughter has been like 12 years old. They're nowhere near the age, but they're saying, well, I want to park my money now. And then I think an added benefit of working with us is we have the management piece. So speaking to a company that's advising them on the good locations to go and what could work well from where their son or daughter might end up wanting to live and go on to study. But then they know that, okay, well, it completes. My son or daughter may not be ready to go to university yet, but there's a company that's going to let it out and manage it for me in the meantime, which is exactly what we do.
Yep.
So I think that, that's something that we've learned about our business in terms of being so well positioned to help these families.
And obviously we're super busy. We've got a summer of Indian families who are coming over, and that process for us in terms of being able to book them in for full day tours of all the various projects around the UK that we recommend for them based on where their son and daughter is going to be studying or perhaps working, post-university. You're now the other side of it. You're also, you're now helping lots of Indian families who are looking to invest into real estate in the UK.
Yep.
And obviously you're really well positioned to chat to them about their journeys and the process that they're about to go into, not only from their son and daughter from the university process point of view, but obviously from the real estate point of view. How are you enjoying working on the other side of the fence now?
Yeah, it's amazing. Like, obviously there's a lot of exposure there, but also being able to help a student that was in my place a few years ago, that's definitely rewarding. Like, for example, we had one of the kids from King's get back. They wanted to look at a 2-bed, and then I was able to speak to the family with confidence that yes, this is a safe area, and yes, this is a good investment for your son. I think something that stands out is that a lot of people think that it's very difficult to purchase something in the UK. Well, it's not with the right support. Like, for example, when we actually speak to a client, we know which mortgage broker is going to be the best for them. We know which areas are going to be best for the son or daughter. That definitely helps. And the second thing is that buying in India versus buying in the UK has a lot of more structure in place for you to for the buyer to be protected, whereas in India it's not the same. And there's a structure that you can follow, and it's very easy that way. Like in Mumbai, it's still pretty difficult to even like land a property and then purchase one. So
yeah, and I think, as we've said a few times, that's one of the biggest pulls for people buying in the UK. Actually, that protection. It's all about mitigating risk. It's parking money in a mature, stable market with all of the relevant legal protections, exactly what you talk about, which is what I think people find really attractive about the UK market.
Thanks, Abhishek, obviously, for joining us today and your insights. It's been really useful. If you are an Indian parent and you want to learn more about buying a property in the UK, there'll be a link below in the description. Click the link, book in a call with the team, find out when we're next going to be in Mumbai or Delhi. We'll always be a few months away from our next trip. So we can always, sit down, have a one-to-one consultation, some time to help you with your goals. And we look forward to speaking to you soon.